name is Beth Levy. I'm going to give you a tour of my art studio. It's in El Segundo, which is just south of the LA airport. I was going to have an art show here this year, a big art show. First, in the fall, I got shingles, and then there was the coronavirus quarantine. Anyway, so in the meantime, I decided to make this video. This is my first video, so please forgive any awkwardness on my part. This is a beautiful place to make art. I've had a series of art studios. Of course, I started off at the kitchen table. I painted in an extra bedroom in my house. I've shared a cubicle with 3 other artists in a big warehouse. And I've had my own cubicle in a different warehouse, and I rented a retail space. And they each had their pluses and minuses, mostly minuses, but they were all useful in their own way. This is my own space. I can play my music. It's clean, it's quiet. I can do whatever I want. So there's 3 levels. There's 12 units in the building, and at the end of the building, there's an elevator that goes to the 3rd level of all the units. So I'm able to drag art supplies up there. The 1st level I use mainly as a gallery space, and I'm going to show you some of my paintings. The 2nd level is really just a half level. It's got a kitchen, some storage, and a covered balcony, which I use a lot. And the 3rd level has the best light, so I do most of my painting up there. I have a website, bethlevy-art.com. That's sort of an archival site, but the paintings are grouped into different categories, so you can take a look at that and just look at the categories you're interested in. So I hope you'll take the time to do that. And first, I will go over some paintings at the 1st level. The 5 paintings on this wall are from my LA-scape series. Currently, there are 19 paintings in this series, and you can see all 19 in my website. The painting on the far right is called Randy's Donuts. It's my drive from the South Bay to the west side of LA, and contains the Randy's Donuts building, the airport, the ocean, and various freeways. It's all different perspectives and art styles and images into one composition. Also, there's natural habitat in LA. This is an abstraction of the freeways of LA, where nature is put on the billboards, and billboards along the freeway and on the sides of various buildings. It's my comment on the current situation where every piece of land now is built up. I've lived my whole life in Los Angeles, and I remember when there were more open spaces, orange groves, views of the ocean and mountains and so forth. This is Miracle Mile in LA. It's an area of LA that includes the LA County Art Museum, LA Tar Pits, the old May Company building, which is now being converted into a museum for motion pictures, Farmers Market. I've gone to the Farmers Market my whole life, and CBS Studios. So I've combined it sort of in odd ways, abstracted the whole thing, and put it different perspectives. The next painting is New Year in LA. And New Year's Day has always been a big event in LA with the Rose Bowl and the Rose Parade. So I've shown these events by, at the top is, in Pasadena, is the Norton Simon Art Museum. There's a blimp in the parade and football game, there's always a blimp. It used to be the Goodyear blimp. I have the Rose Parade going along the freeway instead of down Colorado Boulevard, and for example, the float at the far left is, I have the Rose Bowl Stadium as a Rose Bowl float. There in the foreground, there's the big bridge is a famous Japanese bridge, and Blue Boy at Huntington Library and Art Museum. I remember this fondly as a child. Most kids go to the Huntington Art Museums as children with field trips with their schools, and they remember what they remember most are Blue Boy and across from Blue Boy, the painting Pinky. They're both large paintings, beautifully painted, of children in costume dress, and have a big impact. They had a big impact on me when I was a child. I've painted Blue Boy as a Rose Bowl float. And up at the top, if I can get there, is Downtown Disney. This is the Disney Theater in a very dull area of downtown. And it's a beautiful architecture by Frank Gehry. I always wondered what would happen if I painted those beautiful panels he has in different colors and patterns, and to me it's sort of a shining area in a dull area of downtown. So after painting several of these LA-scapes, I was wondering why I did it. What do they have in common? What's the difference? And I came to the conclusion that some of the reason was my background in mathematics, science, and technology. I was constantly implementing complex computer systems and combining different languages together, translating the language of one system into the language of another, interfacing two complex systems, and so forth. And I think that's where my mindset is for these paintings. I naturally think of that way now, where I'm painting with many different perspectives, images, styles of painting, and trying to find some beautiful way of creating one composition. I also have my background in art was, I had lots of art history classes as an undergraduate at UCLA. I took some studio classes in drawing and painting, I think it was at the UCLA Extension, and oil painting from El Camino College from Mr. Brownlee. And I've had about 25 years experience of drawing and painting at Brentwood Art Center on the west side of LA. It's this school for children and adults that was started 50 years ago by Ed and Linda Butwinick, and they ran it for about 40 years, and then after a while the school had to close down, and fortunately my partner in life, Lloyd Bookman, resurrected the school quickly and has led the effort for 7 years to create a very good school for art studio instruction, and has a strong outreach program. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we had to convert to just online instruction. Hopefully, when a vaccine is discovered, we can go back to in-classroom instruction. At the school, I had very good instructors, in particular David Limeright, Ada Polini Brown, Barbara Ashton, David Lloyd, and Ken Bracken. I've been drawing, painting, color theory, plein air, doing figures, landscape, still life, color theory, paint application, materials, and so forth. And of course, I've gone to many, many, many art museums over the world. And all that has provided my background in art. On this side of the room, there are some other LA-scapes I've done. As you can see, a lot of my paintings in the LA-scape series involve freeways. Being from Los Angeles, I don't know about forests and meadows and things like that, but I do know about freeways and restaurant food. Now, this isn't the only reason why Wayne Thiebaud is my favorite painter, because he did a lot of freeways and restaurant food, but also his imaginative compositions, his beautiful color, and his paint application are just wonderful. I like thick gooey paint, and I like to see the hand in the painting. Now, there's one painting at the end of this here that involves both freeways and restaurant food. And it's called Diaspora to LA. And it's about the Jewish migration in LA. It seemed to me that wherever the Jewish population moved in the area, there was always a Jewish deli. And that's where people would congregate, feel comfortable with the food. The food was used for celebrations, funerals, and ceremonies. Now, the underpainting here is a giant bagel. When I painted it, it sort of looked like Randy's Donuts. Some people think of it as a Seder plate, but that's fine too. And there are very famous deli food around this painting. In the center are the logos of the famous deli restaurants in LA. A lot of these are gone already, and it seems to me that Jewish deli is sort of dying away. A lot of the foods have become mainstream in restaurants and supermarkets and bakeries. Bagels are everywhere. Even arugula is in most bakeries. And chicken soup is everywhere. So a lot of these have become, you can get these at any place now. But so I've done the freeway going in and out around all these dishes, showing people traveling to different areas, bringing their food with them. In terms of landscape painting, I've done a lot of plein air landscape, and I have taken these wonderful art trips to Italy and France. And once I have painted the images, I usually come home and I'll create a larger work using parts of these images analogous to what I did in LA-scapes. In different styles, different perspectives, and different kinds of images combined together. This one's a little different. After going to the south of France, I did a lot of plein air painting, and there was one area of France where they dug up pigments used in all sorts of paint. The earth, it was so many different colors, it looked like you had landed on a different planet. And I had brought home this wonderful box of pigments, and I didn't know what to do with it, but I just liked it. So I incorporated it in a larger piece. I designed this piece, but had the panels constructed where panels were attached to other panels to create a more of a 3D effect. And each of these panels has a detail of an artist that painted in Provence. So the top painting is Cézanne painting the mountain in Provence. The panel at the right is details from Matisse Chapel in that area, and so forth. These are 3 paintings from my political series. I currently have 9 paintings in the series, and these started in 2016 with the election. The one at the left is called I'm With Her. That was the first one I did right after the election. I'm With Her was a poster for Hillary Clinton, and these people were actual people, their reactions right after the election, except for the baby at the bottom. And after I'd done several political paintings, I thought, I got to get away from this. I'll do an abstract figure painting, and of course it turned political. This is called World Diplomacy. And this painting is about immigration, and it's called Halt. It was done by pouring a lot of paint onto a canvas and then drawing on top of that with paint. It just shows the desperation of groups of people trying in different ways, trying to flow from one area to the next, and protests for and against the immigration. Now over here I have a movable wall. I had these built for when I had a studio in a retail space. And they're on wheels, and I can move them wherever I want. I have one at the bottom level and one at the top level. I used them in the retail space to block a big picture window from the street. So, but they've been very useful in this studio too. Again, these are 3 different paintings from my political series. They're very different styles and color schemes. The first painting on the right is called It Matters, and this was done right after the Black Lives Matter was created. And it was started off as an exercise in a class, and I designed a rather elaborate color scheme here. I would be hard-pressed today to recreate it, what the algorithm was I used, but I thought it was really good in that it showed basically we're all different colors and different ancestries, and it just doesn't matter. We should all be treated equally. This is about reproductive freedom, and it says, "You don't own me." That's the title. It sort of reminds me of a 60s album cover, the style of this. And then the next one concerns public education and the way the current administration is trying to decrease and hurt public education. This is a triptych of figures, and it's meant to be viewed together. I would like the viewer to be able to see how some elements are derived of one figure is derived from the other, what is different about it. And I think that doing this, it slows the eye. I've noticed even before iPhones, when people went to museums, they would whiz by these figures that all looked alike and not really focus on them. And I think this is a way of slowing the eye, since we're so used to our eyes moving so fast from screen to device to TV to movies to computers. It's hard to slow the eye down. And this is one way of doing it. The figure on the left was accomplished in a classroom from a live model. And this is the way it looked. The model was sitting on this lawn chair, and the side was towards me. And it's it's not quite photogenic, but it's very close to what she looked like. And then I painted this rather quickly. It came off. Some paintings come off quickly and some don't. I can't predict which ones are going to be accomplished quickly. But I had some time, and I decided to do this version of this model. I've done quite a big series of these types of figures where the background is an iridescent acrylic paint. The gold one, I call it the poor person's gold leaf. And like gold leaf, it has a way of isolating the figure, of making you just focus on the figure. And I've abstracted this figure even more, changing the color schemes. The shadows are a little bit more abstract, and you can compare the first and second and see what's different, what's the same. And then I finished that in my studio, and then I liked this side view so much, I decided to do this abstract version, very abstract version, where it shows different ways in which I've abstracted the figure. I've also used a lot of stenciling, and I've done that in other abstractions where it creates a really cool pattern that you can integrate the figure into. Again, you can see what in the center painting was derived from the other two paintings, and how the figure's been flattened and abstracted, but it can still read as a figure or just an abstract. Okay, now we'll go up to the second level. At the top of the stairs on the second level is another LA scape, this time of Hermosa Beach. I had one of my art studios, I rented a retail space in Hermosa Beach. And this is done in this zigzag style of landscape that the Japanese used to indicate perspective. Then I have a covered patio, kitchen, and along a walkway I had storage built for my paintings. I already need to build more storage. I have a lot of paintings at home also. Next to the kitchen I have hanging another landscape. I call it French landscape, something I'm quite familiar with, French pastries. And downstairs, there's that large opening is actually a garage door that can open, and you can load large things into the studio. And then there are these great sliding doors onto the covered balcony. And they keep it very quiet, and you can't smell anything or hear anything. I do all my smelly, messy activities out here, particularly varnishing. And I don't smell anything in the studio. When I varnished in my garage at home, no matter how careful I was, the odors would still get in the house. Outside this window is an area of El Segundo called Smoky Hollow, which is basically, it was a lot of small warehouses that did light manufacturing. They are since slowly being converted to what is called creative spaces and lofty offices. All the way to the left is the giant Chevron refinery, Smoky Hollow, and then there's a residential area of El Segundo, and then about a mile or two to the right side, to the north, is LA Airport. Now, I've done a lot of plein air, and those paintings are photographed and in my website. I've also done a plein air painting on this balcony, which was really convenient because I could leave all my art supplies just on the patio. And here is the view of Smoky Hollow that I painted, where it has the industrial buildings, the residential area, and the water tower. Now I'm up at the third level of the studio. I have large windows facing the west and facing the east. And these create a nice balance of light. I also have recessed lighting, track lighting, and these movable lights. So I have a lot of options, and I'm able to control my lighting pretty much. As you can see, I have a big collection of art brushes. My two main vices are buying art brushes and buying art books. And this is a small fraction. I have a lot of books at home in every room of my house. I can show you some of my equipment. I like to visit other people's studios and steal ideas from their studios. This is the easel I use most. It's called the Song easel, S-O-N-G. And it works. You can put different weights in the back, and you raise or lower the canvas with just fingertips. It's very easy. It's really good if you have a disability and it's hard for you to bend or go on a ladder to paint. This is really easy. It's typical easels, you have to turn knobs, raise or lower with difficulty the canvas, and then tighten the knobs. So this is much easier. And over there is a windmill easel. You just lightly push one of the spokes and the whole thing turns around. As you can see, it's good for round canvases, so I don't have to chase the canvas all over the room. And also would be good for large abstract paintings where you're constantly turning the painting, and it's heavy to lift and turn around, so this would be really convenient. I also have a large collection of devices for holding my tablet, my iPad, And this can raise or lower or turn around at all different angles. And I use an iPad when I paint if I'm accessing certain images, photographs, or photographs of drawings I've done, and I also use the iPad for quickly seeing what would happen to my painting if I changed a color or composition. I use the app Procreate to do that. I used to use Brushes, another app, but Brushes is no longer supported. That was the app that Hockney used to create a significant work of art. I don't use the app to create art, but just while I'm painting to quickly see what would happen if I changed the painting. And rather than paint, repaint, it's faster. Over here, I have another movable wall. The same, it's identical to the one on the first floor, and I use it to hang paintings to dry or to look at. And you can see these two paintings were done in class where they're experimental from Ken Bracken's figure painting class. The one on the left was done using some photographs I took last summer in Chicago. There's a big fountain in downtown Chicago, and kids play in the water. And the one on the right was done from a live figure, still life, photo, and lots of abstraction. You can see these are both show pretty happy moods. And then the pandemic happened. And this painting was started in also Ken Bracken's class with a live model. And there was a day or two of painting, and we had to stop because of the quarantine. Fortunately, the model let me take photos, and I used those to finish the painting in my studio. And it shows a very somber mood, which I was in. And similarly, I'm almost done, or I'm not sure, I think I'm done with this painting called Separate or Separate, where everybody's in isolation and I'm trying to show the fear and the isolation and the hard time it is. I also use mirrors quite a bit. I have a couple of mirrors I use to look at my paintings while I'm painting it to see if the composition works. If it doesn't work in the mirror, I don't think it works. So it's very helpful. Like I said, I have a couple of these cabinets with art supplies. I have a lot of extra canvases, so I can just grab one. And the canvases on the floor in there. And here are generally paintings I started, a lot of them in class that are not finished or bad. And I always joke that my bad figures become abstracts and my bad abstracts become figures. So an example would be this one. It was a pretty nice academic painting done in class of a nude model, but it was boring. And then I experimented to see what would happen if you integrate abstraction into the figure. I hope you have time to look at my website. It's bethlevy-art.com. And there's a link in there to contact me. If you have any questions, comments, or you want to be added to my mailing list, please let me know. And I hope you stay safe and we see each other soon.